Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kens TV and the House Light Kitchen Sinks. Now, before I get into today's story, if you will, understand that I'm the self-proclaimed Mr. 30 Minutes or Better. Meaning that anytime I drop a video or story, it's guaranteed to be 30 minutes or better. So if you're on your way to work, you're at work, you don't feel like being there, as we so often don't. You're on your way home from work, you need to laugh, you need to cry. Perhaps you're trying to lay down and take a nap, or you're trying to go to sleep at night, depending on whatever time you're listening to or viewing this video. Or you're just in the mood for a good old-fashioned true, keyword being true, penitentiary slash life story slash life experience. This is the channel for you. If you like your 8, 12, 15-minute videos, absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But at Real Kens TV, it's 30 minutes or better. So with all that being said, guess what? There is a message. You know, I often talk about the penitentiary being so dangerous and the politics of being in prison and just being incarcerated in general. One of the most dangerous things about prison is when you actually become close with an individual, on a friendship basis, or you already knew that person from the streets, and so you all end up on the same yard, the same penitentiary together. That can become a very, very tricky, but yet dangerous situation. For the simple fact, if I'm in the pen with somebody that I was, really cool with from the streets, and we kicking and we programming basically means we bitten means we're just doing our time together. We may work out together, we may hoop together, we may play poker together, we just kick it, walk the track, walk the loop or whatever. Their beef often becomes your beef, and vice versa. If you have beef, now they're pulled into the fray of things. It was a situation in which you had an individual, and we're just gonna call him Reese. It's not his real name, but we're gonna go with Reese today. I don't really use too many real names. Every once in a while I do, but I still got to walk the streets and see these people, so I don't want to just put everybody's business out there like that. So the story is 100% authentic, if you will. So you have Reese, and I met Reese in the county jail. Never knew Reese before. I don't even think that I had ever really seen Reese on the streets. We're both in the county jail. We're on our way to the pen. His case was slightly ahead of mine, so he was already waiting to go to the pen, and I was still finishing up, like my case and everything like that, and like in district or in circuit court. So he had already been sentenced. He's waiting to go back. I'm a few months behind, if it makes any sense to you. We get to talking one night, and he gets to mentioning people, and I'm like, hold on, who is this? And he was like, yeah, this is my uncle. I'm like, your uncle? That's my granddad. So he gets to mentioning other people. I get to mentioning other people, and come to find out we're cousins. Didn't even know it. Didn't even have a clue that we were cousins. We probably spent it was probably 2.5, 3 months before they came and got Reese, took him to the pen. Me, I was still in the county jail. Fast forward, maybe about 1.5 years later, I end up on the same yard as Reese. What's up, cuz? What's going on? Everything's cool, what have you. Now, Reese, from what I knew, was a laid-back dude. He didn't get into anything. He didn't get into any beefs, or seemed as though he was kind of a popular guy in the yard. Everybody liked him. Reese, what up? That's all you heard. So I'm on the yard, he's kind of telling me, the do's and don'ts. I already know the do's and don'ts of prison, but he's just kind of giving me the intricacies, if you will, of the prison yard. This particular prison that we was at, we had cells. Reese was in the cell with an individual. Now, let me paint the picture for you. Reese is about, Reese is probably about 5'9", 5'8", 5'9". He weighing a good 250, 260. Kind of got a, somewhat of a gut on him. But he's a real cool dude. Black dude, caramel complected, real cool dude, short haircut. Funny guy, personality. Like I said, everybody likes him. He's in the cell with an individual that's about 6'11", Not 5'11". I know a lot of you all want to say, Kens, you sure he's not 5'11"? No, he's in the cell with an individual that's about 6'11". He got a 50, 60-year prison sentence. He already been locked up at this particular time over 20 years. Went by the name of Cheek Man. Some people called him Cheek Man. Some people called him Cheeks. I wasn't going to call him anything. I didn't know the individual. I just knew of him. He's in the cell with this individual. 6'11". Got to be over 300 pounds. Just his height alone. The dude, from what I knew, he was kind of cool, calm, and collected. He wasn't no bully or anything of the sorts. But he liked them cheeks. Gotta have them cheeks. And so, when he's in the cell, when Reese is in the cell with Cheek Man, he's doing whatever he can do to get out of that cell. He didn't have any issues with Cheek Man. But at the same time, he didn't want to be in the cell with an individual named Cheek Man. When you're in prison and you want to do what's called a cell move, you can't just go to the caseworker and say, hey, I want out of this cell. You can, but you have to have someone that's willing to trade you out, to swap you out. So if you have an individual that's in another cell, you say, hey, bro, I'm trying to get in a cell with dude. He has to be willing to trade you out. Nobody wanted to come into the cell with Cheek Man. Being that nobody wanted to come into the cell with Cheek Man, guess what? Reese was stuck in the cell with Cheek Man. Everybody laughed and joked and, oh, man, you in the cell, man, dude's taking your cheeks. Nah, I never joked and laughed like that. But you had other individuals that would often joke with Reese. That was all fun and games. Like, nobody tried Reese, or Reese would throw them things if he had to, but it never even came to that. Reese came in the cell one day, and when he walked into the cell, he seen something that he just was not prepared to see. Typically, Cheek Man, he liked the younger white boys. For whatever reason, a lot of the bandits in prison, they like the young white boys. Shave their face completely, no hair at all. Smoothly shaved. Innocent, young white boys. Reese was fully aware of this. He walks into the cell one day, and he was supposed to be in class that day. Well, this particular day, class let out early, so he came back to the cell. Now, typically, when you have something going on in the cell, as far as, let's just say you're using the restroom, or you doing whatever you're doing, you'll put like a little, they have like a little window. It's a small window. So you can put a piece of cardboard in the window. That's basically, it's a signal, hey, I'm busy right now. Reese came back to the cell. He had to use the restroom, so he wasn't even looking up in the window. He just opened the cell door. When he walked into that cell door, as I mentioned, he seen something that he just never in a million years, not necessarily couldn't believe, but something that he just did not want to see. He sees Cheek Man and another individual doing the most, doing the absolute most in the cell. He walks in, he's, oh my God, what is going on? Immediately turns around and walks out of the cell. Cheek Man continued to do what he was doing as though nobody walked in. Now, let me tell you the significance of this. Because one may say, hey, Ken's okay, well, I understand that, that's not cool and things of that nature. But if you already knew that that's what he did, what was so shocking about that? It wasn't a young white boy. It was a dude that everybody on the yard knew. We're just going to call him Jay. Everybody on the yard knew who Jay was. But nobody knew that he got down like that. When Reese seen this, he's, oh my God. He goes back, he tells a couple of his partners or whatever. Now, see, when you tell people things like that, some people call that chatty patting. Some people call it gossiping. You know, in prison, there's a see no evil, hear no evil. He just had to tell somebody. He told a couple of his partners. Now the word is spreading all around the yard. Man, Jay was bent over in the cell. Cheeks was behind him. Jay wasn't no little dude. Jay's about 6'3", 6'4" himself. Black dude. He not big, but he's not small. He probably weighing in at about, he probably 225, 230 himself. Could hoop real well. Nobody could believe it. Had a big beard. Totally opposite of what your average Kbuster in prison prefers, from what I'm told. Word starts to spread around the yard. Jay knows there's only one individual that could have said this. Bro, why you going around telling people that you caught me in a cell? Because I did catch you in a cell. It was my cell. Because I did catch you in the cell. So now it's an immediate problem. It's an immediate issue that the two have. Jay feels as though, I'm going to get you, Reese. I'm going to get you. Kind of brings me into the fray. Not as far as, Reese, that's my cousin. So if anything were to happen as far as they jump him or, then I automatically am faced with the situation. I'm trying to go home myself. I'm not trying to extend my stay. But I can't let somebody just jump on my cousin like that. Been a heck of a situation, heck of a scenario. Something that I had absolutely nothing to do with whatsoever. Y'all rock with me. Let me know where you're chiming in from. And I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. Two of them go back and forth. They have a couple arguments or what have you. They end up fighting. They throw them hands. They throw them things. Nobody really wins. Nobody really loses. Reese had his people. Jay had his people. Now, the reason that you can have a situation in prison like that in which, you all get down and throw them and nobody wins, nobody loses, or no one gets significantly hurt because they were from the same place. We're all from the same place, same city, same side of town for the most part. It was only a matter of time before the words got out to the street. The word got out to the streets, about Jay being in a cell, bent over. You supposed to be a G. You respected in the streets, man. You got all type of women in the streets. You don't even have that much time in prison, but you were doing the absolute nasty. I'm not going to go into the details of what they were doing because it's bad enough that they were doing anything. So you can put two and two together. As I mentioned, they end up fighting. They get it out of the way or whatever. It's supposed to be squashed. Jay ends up going home. As I mentioned, he didn't have that much time, 7, 8 years. It's not like he had a 30-year sentence. And even at 30 years, that's not something that is condonable. If that's even a word. Can't be condoned even if you have 30 or 40 years. Fleece Johnson he often talks about, if you have a bunch of mans and you put them all in one place and you have a significant amount of time, 20 years, 15 years, them mans is going to want to be satisfied. Yeah, with a woman. No average dude sitting around thinking like that. And that's no slight, that's no disrespect towards Fleece Johnson. But your average individual is not sitting around. If they're thinking it, they're not saying it. My years of doing time in prison, I didn't see too much of that. You see it every once in a while. You hear about it, but you don't just see it. But I wasn't in Eddyville during the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s. Maximum security prison that Fleece Johnson was in. So I can't really say what he saw, but only thing I can say is what I saw. Jay ends up on the streets. Reese probably has about another year or so. Reese ends up getting out to the streets. He's not really too much talking about what Jay did in prison. Yeah, there's rumors. It's already speculation, going around in the streets. But Reese is not really trying. He learned his lesson. Okay, dude did what he did. That's his business. As long as it's not affecting me or anyone that I know or anyone, that's directly linked to me, I'm not going to say anything. I'm getting out here. I'm on parole. I'm trying to mind my business. Last thing I need is beef with an individual, especially an individual like Jay, because Jay like to tote them, that iron. Now, Reese, he did his thing too. He wasn't afraid. He just didn't want any street drama, street beef. As I mentioned, Reese does about another year. Actually, it was probably like 10 and a half months, something like that. Reese ends up coming home. Reese gets home. He's out for a while. And him and this girl, they had kind of gone through some things. And it just wasn't quite working out. So she leaves Reese. She leaves Reese. Reese is sick. After all, they had been together for many, many years. They had a child together. She was just tired of, him going in and out of prison and just the average everyday problems that one has in a relationship. The relationship had ran its course. She leaves Reese. Reese hurt for a little while. He bounces back. Probably about, a year later, he ends up with another girlfriend. He's cool. Everything is straight. Him and, his ex, they getting along. As I mentioned, they had a son together. So there was no bad blood between the two. Shortly after that, the rumors start to swirl. The rumors start to circulate. Reese's ex, which is his baby's mama, is allegedly messing with Jay. Yeah, Jay from the pen, Jay from the cell. Jay that was bent over in Reese's cell. With Cheek Man behind him. He calls his baby's mama. You messing with dude? Why? I don't ask you who you messing with. I'm grown. I can mess with whoever I want to mess with. I'm just saying, baby, calm down. I'm not your baby. Okay, just calm down. But are you messing with dude? What if I am? Hey, listen, man, I ain't on no hating. I'm not trying to hate, but you are my son's mother. You want to stay away from him. Have y'all done anything yet? Why are you asking me all these questions? This is none of your business. Listen, there's a reason that I'm asking you this. We was on the same yard together in the pen, right? Dude was doing the most, man. What do you mean he was doing the most? I walked in the cell one day. I got out of class early. I walked into the cell because I had to use the restroom and I wasn't really paying attention that, I wasn't supposed to walk in at that particular time. And this is what I saw. Whatever, boy. You lying. You just hating. Listen, why would I lie to you? This is all jokes aside. This has nothing to do with anything as far as us being together or what have you. I've moved on. You've moved on. I'm telling you what I saw. Me and dude ended up fighting over this because I told a couple of the homies on the yard and they were laughing. They were spreading it around the yard and we ended up actually fighting. Watch yourself with him, man. I'm telling you what I actually witnessed. I saw. Yeah, okay, whatever. You just want me back or whatever. Now, Reese has a real problem with Jay. He's looking for Jay. Now he's about to confront Jay. Hey, bro. We can do it the easy way. We can do it the hard way. But that's my son's mother, man. And what you was doing in the joint, it ain't happening. So you're going to have to cut that short or it's just going to be what it's going to be, man. I know you about that action. I'm about that action just as well. But that's my son's mother, man. And I know what you did last summer. I'm not out here trying to tell everybody or whatever, but I let her know exactly, what the situation was, and that's what it is. Are you hating on me like that, man? You could have came to me and talked to me, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling how I was in the joint. What happens in the joint stays in the joint. Now, bro, this ain't Vegas. What happens in Vegas may stay in Vegas. What happens in the penitentiary doesn't necessarily stay in the penitentiary. She never says anything. He never says anything. In her mind, she's thinking about it, but nothing is ever said. A couple months goes past. She's starting to have something's not right. She's not feeling all the way normal, all the way regular. She ends up going to the doctor. She goes to the doctor. They tell her that she has a STD. The only individual that she had been dealing with was Jay. Syphilis. Syphilis? How in the world could I catch anything? I haven't been dealing. Immediately she gets to thinking about the conversation that she had with Reese. The father rather, of her son. She calls Jay up, confronts him. I don't know what you're talking about, baby. I don't know nothing, man. I ain't been with nobody. I haven't. She insists that he goes to the doctor, takes a test, and she wants to go with him. She knows good and well that it had to be him. She had not been with anybody else but him. He gets offended. He doesn't want to go to the doctor and get a test taken. So now it's really, really beef. It was already beef. It was going to be what it was going to be when Jay and Reese ran into each other. But now she calls Reese up. You was right. That MF gave me syphilis, and I should have listened to you. He's this and he's that. I tried to tell you, but listen. I tried to tell you. At least you found out it wasn't anything more serious than that. You got your meds, you got your antibiotics or what have you. They gave you a shot or whatever. So, are you trying to be funny? No, I'm not trying to be funny, but I tried to tell you. You need to steer clear of him, man. I told you what I saw. It's just what I rented. There's no telling what he was really, really doing. This dude didn't even have that much time. There's no telling what he's really doing on the streets. And I'm going to put this out there. If you do that, if that's your sort of activity, if you, like the same sex and you, hey, kudos to you. But don't trick the next person. You see what I'm saying? Don't be over here and then you running back and forth. You dealing with somebody over here, but then you dealing with her, and it's that's how diseases are spread. And some diseases, as we all know, are deadly. Can't get rid of. That's wrong. If you got a little zestiness in you, hey, ain't nothing wrong with being zesty if that's what you choose to do. If you got a little zestiness in you, jump in the comments and say, hey, Kens, man, I get a little zesty sometimes. Respectfully. But you don't do stuff like that and have a secret life when you're over here because you're putting others' health and potentially their life at risk. That's the only issue that I have with that. There's an old saying, and I've used this before. 2 mountains will never meet, but 2 men will. They're at the store one day. Jay's coming out of the store. Reese is walking in the store. It's like a showdown. Cowboy movie. They see each other. We don't know what's about to pop off. There's only one situation, one problem. Reese don't have this thing on him, but Jay does. Yeah, what's up, man? You was talking all that stuff on the phone. You out here telling everybody that I did this and I did that. What's up? Jay had a young lady with him. So I don't know if he was trying to show off, but as I've already mentioned, Jay was about that action in the streets. So it's quite possible that Jay's demeanor would have been the same had he not had the young lady with him. Come on, bro. I'm just saying, man, as I told you before, bro, that's my baby's mama, man. I can't let you get down with it. And then you done gave her something. Man, I ain't give that B nothing. I ain't give that B word nothing. Man, you can call my baby's mama a B? You can call my baby's mama a bitch? They get to tussling right there in front of the store. Everybody's outside. They get to, wrestling. They get to fighting. Reese is getting the best of him. As soon as Jay gets an opportunity, he pulls that thing out. Yeah, what's up? What's up? Yeah, you're going to have to use it on me. You're going to have to use it on me. Reese is not backing down whatsoever. As I mentioned, Reese is about that drama too. He's about that life. They're going back and forth. Kind of just, lip wrestling back and forth or whatever. Instead of Reese just going on, he confronts Jay some more. Jay, I guess in his mind, he had no choice. Bow, bow. Fires on Reese. Hits him twice. Broad daylight. Everybody's outside. You got surveillance. There was an officer right in the area. Now, obviously, at that time, nobody seen that this officer was in the area. But I guess once the shots went off, the officer heard the shots because there's no way that the officer could have been dispatched that fast. The officer hurries up and whips into the parking lot as Jay is attempting to flee the scene. I guess the officer noticed that, there was a sense of urgency, and he noticed that there was something that just wasn't right. So he pulls Jay over. He attempts to pull Jay over. Jay's gone. High-speed chase. Catch me when you catch me. Gone in 60 seconds. Jay ends up crashing the car in an attempt to get away from the officers. Obviously, at this point, backup comes and they find that action on him. When I say that action, they find that some work, some drugs. Had a large sum of cash. But what was most damaging, they found that heat on him. Convicted felon in possession of a handgun. See, in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, if you get caught with a handgun and you're not a felon, no big deal. Just a fine at best. But if you get caught with a firearm, it carries 1 to 5. But if you get caught with a handgun, it carries 5 to 10. Well, the problem, a deeper problem for Jay, he was already a 2-time felon, which would have enhanced his sentence from 5 to 10 to 20 to life. It's going to make your sentence jump up 2 levels. If he had been a 1-time felon, it would have jumped up from 5 to 10 to 10 to 20. But because he had 2 prior felonies, now he goes from 10 to 20 to 20 to life. Now, obviously, he's not going to get a life sentence, but technically, that's what he's facing. The other charge is the fleeing and evading. Small amount of drugs that they found on him. They charged him with trafficking. It's not like he had a whole half of key in his, on his persons in his vehicle. But it was enough to charge him with trafficking. Controlled substance. They book him, take him to the county jail. His bond's probably $50,000. No bail bondsmen, no automatic percent. $50,000 is $50,000. He's trying his best to get his bond reduced to $5,000, 10%. Before he could do so, and peoples came. And federales. Feds came in and picked up the case. Once the feds picked up the case, he's definitely not getting out on bond. They hit him with being a career criminal. So he ends up getting Jay ended up getting 23 years in the feds, which he has to do 85% of that time. I want to say 85% of 23 years. I want to say it's close to 20 years, 19 years. There's a couple classes you can take in the feds now, but it's the First Step Act. That's what it's called, in which if you're in there, but it's certain crimes. Can't be any sex offenses. Can't be any violence. There are certain gun charges in the feds that are considered violent. Well, the fact that he blasted on Reese is obviously valid. Violence, rather. Reese never went back to court. He didn't press charges on the dude. Reese ended up being okay. All is well with Reese. But with that being said, Jay still ended up with 23 years in the feds. And after all of that, he's going around telling people that Reese got him locked up, that Reese told on him, that Reese pointed him out. The police was already right there. Reese had absolutely nothing to do with Jay being caught up the way that he got caught up. Jay got himself caught up. See, people don't want to accept responsibility for their own actions. So the easiest thing that for a person to do is point the finger. Yeah, he did it. He got me caught up. Because of him, I got all this time in the feds. I guess there's several lessons to be learned from this story today. Often hear women say when a guy comes home from prison, you have to go get a test, STD test. I see nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But at the same time, let's both go. You go, because I don't know what you were doing either. It's a two-way street. I don't know what you was out here doing, so how about we both go down, we get a test together. We can evaluate the situation from that point and hopefully move forward, or don't move forward. But the sentiment that, all guys are in prison and incarcerated and they mess around, just so not true. But there's so many different scenarios and cases in which it does happen. The same way that it happened with Jay and no one ever even suspected it, no one even knew, that type of thing does happen. If Reese never walked in that day, would anybody have ever known? Something to really, really think about. Unfortunately, Reese is back in the pen right now, and he ended up getting caught with a banger himself a couple years later. He should be home, real soon. I spoke with him maybe a couple weeks ago. He's on his way back out, and, he's going to have to sit them bangers down before the feds swoop in on him. Real Kens TV. Hopefully you all like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. And on a side note, Reese and his son's mother, they ended up getting back together. They ironed out everything and worked out, all the kinks, if you will, in the relationship. And to this day, they're together, and she's riding with him while he's in prison. Real Kens TV.